All right, good morning. So we left off by the two dots and the top. Vav. So he said, Rabbi Yezer says we're talking about shmira, shmira pchusa. We're talking about shmira ma'ula, whether a minimal type of watching, of guarding, or a maximum amount of guarding. So Rabbi Yezer says, "Elo shmira elasakin." The only way to go ahead and guard is basically with a knife. In other words, there is no way to properly guard a shore because they're wild animals, and therefore the only way is with a knife. So Amar Rabbi, my time Rabbi Yezer was going Rabbi Yezer. So Damar Kra, the pasuk says, "Below yishmerenu." And now the pasuk says he didn't watch, but how he learned, but he teaches it shuv ein lo shmira lezeh. In other words, there is no way to go ahead and be shemeret. So Amar Abaye. So says the Abaye Miata. See, the pasuk says the pasuk says you just use the words v'lo yishmerenu. So what about v'lo yichfenu? You should not go ahead and cover it when it comes to a pit. If a person digs a pit and doesn't cover it, nami yishuv ein lo kisui lezeh. Where you say, once you go ahead and dig a pit, right, there is no way to properly guard it, i.e., even if you cover it, right, and that was the only way to do is to refill it in. If you say that's the case, but now we go on the Mishnah. Kisui karoi, right, a person goes ahead and covers it properly. In other words, he puts the cover back on, but enough is short, and later on the short comes and somehow gets uncovered and falls in. Ochamor umeis pater. He's pater. So if you're teaching it the same way as v'lo yishmerenu, thank you, then it should be the same way as v'lo yichasenu. Samar Abaye, haina time with Rabbi Yezer, he's going to Rabbi Yezer. Get it tied to the Gemara Brayser. Rabbi Nassan, Rabbi Nassan says, "Minayin shelo yigad adam kelav rabba tzarich beis." So how do a person shouldn't go ahead and leave a dog, a bad dog, right, a dangerous dog in his house? Or al yamid sulam ruah tzarich beis, or leave a crooked ladder. Shnei the pasuk says, "V'lo yisasim damim veisacha." You should not go ahead and have blood in your house, and therefore, so too you shouldn't have such an animal in your house. So shor shenaga kasapara v'nimsa ubra b'tzida. So we have no. I feel like because I feel like the guy laning on Purim. So I skipped through the Haman. All right, fine. I was trying to just make sure Mayor didn't hear. I know. I was just trying to. I couldn't keep the.
I mean, I can't believe we missed this one.
I couldn't do a straight face. Okay.
Slipped right through. Like, what?
Yeah.
Birthday application card. It's
like the Bakar and Megillah. You know, you try to get in the Haman without people getting it. All right, now finishing the fourth parak and Babakama now as we begin the fifth parak. Shor shenoga kasapara. So now a shore.
We didn't say
Hadrallah. Shor shenoga arba. So shor shenoga kasapara. So now a shore. The shore is a male ox that gores. We'll soon get the opposite. So a male basically that gores a female. Right, the male ox that gores a female. The nimsa ubra b'tzida, and it turns out that all of a sudden there is a fetus, a fetus on the side. Now we don't know if the animal right. So we don't know if at what point did the animal give birth. If the animal gave birth and the vlad died before the goring, then the person that owns the ox is putter. If the cow basically miscarried from getting gored, then the owner of the ox should have to make the payment. So the Gemara says they need to do it. So if it was after the point that he yelled Mishalim Chatzi Nezek Lepara, right? And therefore, in this case, since we don't know which one, so therefore you pay half the Nezek to the cow that was damaged, and Ravia Nezek Levlad, and you pay a quarter of the damage for the fetus. Okay, so if the fetus, right, so the baby calf would have been worth $100, so he pays $25. Okay, so he pays. Why is that? Because normally a short time donor pays Chatzi Nesek, but over here it's a sub-pay. You either pay 50 or 0. There's no way to prove it either way. So therefore, our Mishnah holds you split it down the middle, and therefore you pay a quarter. Okay, and so too it works the other way around. Para shenokas ashur. You have a cow,
Pregnant.
a pregnant cow that gored an ox. And then it turned out that the mom gave the mom gave birth. Now it was not known we don't know whether the animal was pregnant when it gored or not. Because if the animal was pregnant when it gored, so then we'll soon see. Then the fetus is also partially responsible for the payments of the dead ox. But if it gave birth first, then it has nothing to do with it. So what do you say in this case? Mishalim Chatzin Nezek will explain both these cases. You pay half Nezek mina para you pay half. Now normally on an animal that gores, you pay mikufo. So here, okay, we're going to pay mikufo.
The opposite case in a way.
So, right, it's the opposite case, right? So now in this case, you pay. We have to explain the case. So half the Nezek from the cow. And a quarter of the Nezek mean blood from the fetus. And we'll have to explain that case. So let's see exactly what first. Some Rabbi, our Mishnah is the opinion of Sumchos, the Omar Motabasafik Holkin. That hold that if there is money in doubt, and we don't know which way it is, and there's no person who can go ahead and bring it from one way or another, you divide it 50-50. Kati Nezek are 0, pay a quarter. I mean, the Chachamim say no. Is that Kal Gadol? But then this is Kal Gadol. We'll soon see what that means. That the halach is you want to go ahead and extract a payment from the damager for the fetus. Well, you got to bring proof. If you don't bring proof, you don't get a quarter. You get 0. So Gemara says, "Lamali the Meimar." That'll be the Chachamim. So the Chachamim are arguing, and Sumchos would be the author of the Mishnah. So Lamali the Meimar is that called Gadol. Why do you guys think that called Gadol within? So it's you need it. Why? Dafilu nizak lemebari umazik amar shema. The nizak, the guy who owned the cow, said, "Hey, my cow definitely was pregnant. I'm telling you." And the one whose damages, I'm not sure. I don't know. So such a case, even in that case where the nizak is buried and the mazik is shema, that maybe you believe the nizak and you have to pay the full chatzi nazak. You pay 0 unless there's proof. Or you can say, maybe it's for this case. Itamar. Person goes ahead and sells an ox to his friend, and it turns out it's a goring ox. Rav Omar Hareze Mekachtos. It's a Mekachtos. The guy bought it. He wanted the animal to go ahead and plow his fields, and then the animal's too wild. It gores, right? So I want my money back. Full refund. Shmuel Omar. What's the most right? Yachosh Yamar Lo. The Shchita Macheritiv. L'cha. I sold it to you for meat. So who cares if it's goring or not? You bought it for you want to go ahead and shecht it and sell its meat. So and therefore you don't get your money back. So I understand this halachas. Right? Are we talking about somebody who buys it for plowing? Is this a guy who was a farmer, or is it a guy who is a shlachtas, for meat? So who was on about it? Says no, but we're talking about somebody who buys either one. So there was I was okay. Let's see the price he paid. Did he pay the standard price usually for a meat, or the more expensive, price for one that plows? So like do you care? Now we're talking about a case where the meat, right, went up in value. It was so expensive, inflation, that basically both the animals were the same price. So we don't know from the sticker price. So I'm saying, I understand. The guy wants his money back. So the Chari says, even if you hold it to Mekachtos, okay. So you go ahead, you take, so you want your money back. You didn't get your money, but if you get your money back, you also have to return the animal. So don't return the animal. The animal is still the guy's, possession, right? Dami each the people say, "Mari the shavasika pari para." Right, so even some person who owes you money, even go ahead and take his brand, his anything, any of his possessions if he doesn't have cash, right? So okay, so what do you say? It's not a mega post. Okay, so keep his animal and then just sells the animal, you get your cash back. So the guy says, "Lo tzrika deika l'shlum mineh." No, the guy does have cash. And here's the machlokes of Masech Chaver Rav Amar Reza Megachtos. Rav Megachtos Zio Basaruba. You go after the rove. The Ruba the Inchi, the Dia, who is the Zavni. The most people go ahead and buy for plowing purposes. So therefore, that's the robe. Therefore, it's plowing purposes. Your animal is a goring animal. Therefore, it's a maftos. Ushmul Amar, no. I sold it to you, right? So I sold it to you for shchita. And we don't go after them. Why? When it comes to the matters of Isur. When it comes to Amana, we don't go after the robe. Rather, we actually follow Hamatzin Chavel Raya, and that's why it's considered to be a Klal Gadol B'Din. Fine. And Tani Navi Hachi, similarly, we learned that, remember, our first thing was, our mission seemed to say, okay, you just divided 50-50, right? The things that are unknown, you divide in half. So to over here, that's the only opinion of Simchas. Now, the Rabbanan, we learned, Shorshan, identical case to our Mishnah of the animal that went ahead and gored a cow. Then it turns out there's a fetus, that fetus ran accident. It's not known. If it was after it gored it, then it it miscarried, or right? Or from afterwards, either it was before or afterwards. So Mishalim Chatzi Nezek Lepara, or Ria Nezek Levad. You pay Chatzi Nezek comes to the para, and you're supposed to pay Chatzi Nezek if you indeed did the damage to the Vlad, but we don't know. So go ahead and take that Chatzi Nezek and divide it in half, and now it's Ria Nezek. It's a quarter Nezek Levlad. Divrei Sumchus. This is the opinion of Sumchus, as was suggested when our Gemara opened up. Say no, that's not the case in this case. Really, you pay zero for the fetus unless the guy can bring proof. Then you pay the full Chatzi Nezek. Fine.
Wait, he has to bring proof of that there was a fetus?
No. The fetus is there. That the fetus was in the cow at the time of the goring. In other words, that the miscarriage happened because right. In other words, if it miscarried first and then gored the mother and the mother died, so the owner of the ox says, I don't have to pay you a penny for the fetus, the dead fetus that's next to it. It's miscarried 10 minutes before my animal gored your animal. But if the animal gored the animal, then it miscarried, so then the ox's owner is responsible to pay for the miscarriage.
So the cow is still alive.
No, it's dead. What do you mean? We're calling it an ox and a cow. All right, ox and a cow.
Right.
Okay.
The cow is pregnant.
The cow is pregnant.
Right.
The cow is dead. It is a dead fetus. Okay. The owner of the ox has to pay for damages. The question, obviously, he has to pay for the mother because he gored the mother.
Okay.
The fetus, does he pay for it or not? We don't know. What do you mean you don't know? If the miscarriage happened 5 minutes before the goring, so it miscarried, the fetus died, and nothing to do with the ox, right? The fetus didn't die from goring, right? It was miscarried. But when was the miscarriage? Was the miscarriage from before or was it after?
Oh, yeah, have me in the back.
Why not? How do you know it didn't happen then? I'm sorry.
The likeliness of having a miscarriage.
No likeliness. It's a suffix, right? We don't know whether it miscarried or not. Miscarriage is, I guess, a common. Let's say, so what happens. It's not something that's 1 in a million. So now, side point. How do we know this concept was the Chavarai? The pasuk says, "Ki baal dvarim yigash aleim." Or is it yigash or yagish? Yigash, right? So it says, yeah, I know. Right, so it says over here, also, right, this week's parsha, right? He said, whoever has an issue, right, he should approach them. In other words, yagish rayaleim. Go ahead and bring a proof. In other words, if you have a claim, go ahead and bring a proof. So Mask of Ravashi, Halam Ali Pro, I need a pasuk, Svaru. The person who needs something he handled, so he goes like when he goes to the doctor, right? He's sick, so he goes to the doctor and tells him, right, he's trying to go ahead and get something from the doctor. So he goes to him. So over here, when a person wants money from somebody else, it's logical to say that he goes ahead and has to basically prove his claim to the other person. So Amar Rabbi Ravu, Amar Rabbi Ravu. So Minayin Shein is talking about Tavet Chila says, okay, that's not a proof for it. Rather, it's right, it's a svara. But however, how do we know that the one who has the claim, he goes ahead first? Says, Mi bal dvarim yigash aleh, right? Whoever has the issues, he should go ahead and approach him. Yagish devarav aleim. In other words, he approached his words, his his claim first. And Amri Nahardia, and they said Nahardia, Sapamish and the Nitvatchil. Sometimes we actually do the defendant, he claims first. Why? The Hechidami, because right now, let's say his Nechasim, the stuff that's let's say in question that he's defending is losing value, whatever reason. Maybe he can go ahead and sell it if this claim goes on. So it's gonna be a loss if this occurs for a very long time. So therefore, we allow him to go ahead and bring his defense first, even before the Tovea. Fine. Two dots. Second to last skinny line on Mem Vav Amades. The V'chein v'parish and Nukla is the short. Now let's go to the second case. All right, so we have the second case. Okay, so we have a cow that gores a ox. The cow gores the ox. Right, the ox is the male. We'll say the cow is the female. I'm sorry. The cow has horns. Yeah, it is now. It is now. No. I'm sure there are cows. I'm sure there are females with horns.
Got the little one. They try to breed.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I assume so. It's not just males, huh? Yeah, you're right. I don't know. She's male, female. Anyway,
Like ladies with mustache.
so right. So we say in this case, right? So now, so the animal was pregnant. So the animal was pregnant, and then the animal afterwards. Then when they find the animal that gored, and they find the dead ox. There's also a fetus there, even if the fetus is alive. Now we don't know. No, I know. We don't know if the fetus was inside the mother, right? So now he's also subject to be mishalem migufo chatinezek, right? This whole thing, the pregnant mother. So therefore, all the parts, all the assets, right? But all the assets, right, are pledged, and therefore the mother and the fetus would be responsible for the chatinezek of the damaged animal. But if
the fetus was part of the intensity,
right. So soon say the end. We'll get to that part to the end. Or do we say 100% right? Or do we say that it miscarried first, or whatever, gave birth first, and therefore has no connection? So now let's see that's the case. Now, so our Mishnah says you pay half nezek. So the half nezek comes from the mother, Ravia nezek, and a quarter comes from the fetus. So a half and a quarter. So the verse says the boy is shlumi. All right. So the verse I understand. Ravia nezek. The boy. He has to pay half nezek, right? Shlume kulin nizka nachi Ravia. Mavi does say. So first you want to take it literally. So what do you say? You pay half the damages from the mother and a quarter of the damages from the fetus. Well, that's 3/4, right? You're only supposed to pay half for the ox and not 3/4. What's going on here? So Rabbi, Chatzi Nezek means, what does the Chatzi Nezek mean? Means Echad Me'arba, 1/4. In other words, the owner of the cow, all right, I'm going to call it the cow and the calf. Okay, there's the cow, the calf, and the ox. Right, the cow is the mother, calf is baby. So the owner of the cow pays what it says. It pays Chatzi Nezek. It means a quarter. I mean half of that. And Ravia Nezek Echad Nishmana B'Nezek. And then when it says the owner of the calf pays a quarter, it means 1/8, right? In other words, that from each one. So Gemara says, understand. So now, in this case, right, we'll soon see that we're talking about.
Talking about 3/8 and 1/8.
No, we're quarter, 2/8 or a quarter and 1/8. It only comes out to 3/8, right? Well, so the Gemara is soon going to ask. So the Gemara is going to ask that question. So the pashtus is, in other words, that when you say it means his responsibility. In other words, maybe he only pays that if the cow. So if the cow and the calf both did it, so the cow pays half of the Chatzi Nezek, and the calf would pay half of the Chatzi Nezek, right? So the cow. So when we say, I'm sorry. He would lose out because in other words, half it was for sure by this, and the other half it's suffix whether he was involved, and therefore he does. So the Gemara is soon going to ask on that. So I understand. So the Gemara says I understand. So the Gemara says like this: if both the cow and the calf are owned by the same person, which we've all thought till now, the chanina. So says, I don't care whether you give it from the cow or the calf or whatever you do it, or out of who knows, but you owe me chatzin nezek. So I don't want to hear about these 3/8 business, right? As Mark was saying, well, he owes him. So how does he lose out? No, rather talking about a case of the person, let's say, sold the rights to the fetus. So therefore, they have two different owners, right? One is the owner of the cow, and one is the owner of the calf. Two different owners. So maybe that's the case, right? The owner of the cow pays a quarter, and the other guy only pays an eighth, right? So,
come out.
so right, which will come out to 3/8. The guy says, I understand. Be the kaddim tayveh lebal para tchila. I understand if he goes to the owner of the cow first. Sachinami damerle lebal para didcha askita. Right? Havli raya dislcha shutfi. In other words, he can say like this: if he approaches the guy, the cow's owner, right, he can tell him, "Look, I have another. There's another guy. So go ahead and bring me proof, right, that you have another partner." And then you don't have to pay all of it. In other words, prove to me that you don't own the calf, right? And then then I'll only collect a quarter from you, and I'll go ahead and try and collect the other quarter from him. So Ella, the kaddim tabe lebal vlad chila. Rather, he comes to the owner of the vlad of the fetus first. So he says, since you went to the owner of the calf, I know now that you know I have a partner. So therefore, I'm only going to pay you 1/4. I'm only going to pay you 1/4, and therefore everything else is on him. So you can't go to the others. And Ikadami, some different version. Even if he goes to the owner of the cow first, he can go ahead and defend himself by saying, the other, there should be sleep. Sorry. Because he sells the rights to the fetus. So there's a whole shiloh over here of how it does. And I was because you really can't sell something that's davar shelo b'olam. So it could be
the fetus is there.
No, but it's a future, right? In other words, I saw there was a whole shiloh over here. I saw there was a whole shiloh lumdus over here.
You can't say it's a davar shelo b'olam.
You could say it's a davar shelo b'olam. Yes, but I'm just 1 second. I'll find it afterwards. Yeah. All right, fine. So I'll take a look afterward, or I'll send a voice note to the chat. Now, anyway.
Let's keep this another.
So the Gemara says, so rather we're talking about a case of where he says, even if he goes ahead and approaches the other guy, he says, look, right, you can't even come to me for the full money because that I know that since there's a partner over here, I'm only that I'm responsible for only half, and then you go to him for the other half of the chatzin, which would be a quarter. So Rava says that. So atu echad mi'arba benezek v'echad mishmana b'chatzi katani. Right? Sort of. I think Mark mentioned this. I understand. Does it say 1/4 and 1/8? That's not the words of the Mishnah. It says 1/2 and 1/4. Right? And all of a sudden you come to 1/2 and 1/8. Right? So chatzi nezek v'nezek katani. It says right, the half and a quarter. So elam Rava l'yaylam b'para b'vlad the chat. Really, the cow and the calf are owned by the same person. And this is what it means to say. Isa la para, if the para is around. In other words, here's the cow. We can go ahead and collect from the cow. Mishalim chati nezek mi para. You can go ahead and take half the nezek from the owner of the cow/calf. Take chati nezek from the para. However, let's say the cow ran off that gourd, but its calf is still there. So great. So Nizak says, oh, great. There was a pregnant. This animal was inside it, and now it's part of the damaging entity, and therefore pay michatzi nezek from the calf. So he says, if it's less lapara, misham revia nezek, then you only pay a quarter of it because really the claim is half, but it's a mamanum of a suffix cholking, and therefore it's the only he pays nezek only revia nezek vlad. So two more lines. So top of the le'adina. The reason why is the only reason is because we don't know whether or not it gave birth or no, while it's gored while it's pregnant. But if you knew there was definitely pregnant when it gored, you can even pay the chati nezek from flat. And why is that? Because an animal that gores, you can go ahead and collect it from the Vlad, my time, what's the reason? So goofy, because it's part of its body, all right? And Yigal had this from our beginning, right? It's part of the force. It was part of the pregnant force that went ahead and gored it, and therefore you can go ahead and even collect the chatzin nezek from the Vlad if you choose. However, Tarnagoles, Shezika, but if let's say you have a chicken that the Shezika ain't a govim you can't go ahead and collect it from the chick from its egg by the time what's the reason? So it appears to be Amo, because that's only something that comes out of the egg of the chicken, it's not necessarily a part of it.
All right,
I will stop.